behind the scenes special edition for Malik's Redemption. I'm your host, Tara Arrington, and I'm here today with one of my lead actresses from the film. And I'll let her introduce herself and tell you which role she played.
Yes, hi everybody. I'm Raquelle Camphor. I played Karen, the lead, Malik's girlfriend in Malik's Redemption, and in the first Vicious Cycle. So I'm a repeat character.
Awesome. So, as you said, you reprised your role as Karen from the first film. Do you feel that Karen from the first film to now, did she grow as a person, or do you feel like she kind of stayed the same?
I honestly feel like she did grow as a person because she was able to separate herself from being I'm in love and I really want this to work, so okay, I gotta put myself first. Like, this is what I really need to do for me. So watch that grow, that change.
Listen, I can appreciate that change because I went through that change in real life. I wrote it.
And I'm currently going through that change. So
okay. Well, hopefully this new film will give you some insight on things on how to break your own cycles in real life.
Definitely.
Tell the people, what will they see that's different than what they saw in the first film?
So in the second film, you'll get to see, more of Karen. I feel like the first film, and even the second film, is more about Malik's journey, but I feel like Karen has more of a role where she steps up for herself and has more of a backbone and, gets a little tricky, gets a little spiteful. So you'll get to see that.
A little spiteful. It's funny because I remember us having conversations about the first film and how you were the lead character in the first film. So how do you feel about kind of now taking a back seat so now that we can explore Malik and why he did the way that what he did?
It's interesting because honestly, even though I was the lead in the first role, I feel like being in the back, I feel like this role was bigger than the first film. My role in this film was bigger than in the first one because I feel like she had more of herself to show. She had more to stand up for and more to fight for, more than just a relationship from the first film. She was fighting for something bigger. So, and I feel like this role, even though it was a smaller role, it was a bigger position.
So one of the things that is reoccurring theme in the Vicious Cycles franchise, I'm gonna call it a franchise, is I always have you singing. And I know, and I know you like to be in front of the camera. And I know you're the bubbly personality that shows up, and you're, everybody loves you and everything. But how was that having to actually sing on camera?
So I like to sing. I do enjoy singing, but not for television and camera. I feel like I have the church, choir, alto voice, not really the outstanding solo voice.
For me, a lot of those songs that you get to hear Karen sing is poetry that I've written. Do you feel like any of the emotions that Karen portrayed during those moments where she was singing or reciting poetry, so to speak, do you feel like you can relate to those feelings or the things that she was trying to put across in real life?
Yeah, most definitely. I feel like those lyrics are lyrics that have helped people in general, especially as a woman. We listen to music to help us get through whatever we're feeling. So I definitely feel like those lyrics helped me at one point, and even Karen through the film, to kind of breathe, calm down, refocus, not go crazy, and get in tune with your emotions, whether you wanted to cry or whether you wanted to be angry or whatever the emotion was that you were feeling.
So out of those singing moments, I'm just curious, because I think it was only 2 singing moments, one from the first film and one from this film. Which one of those moments, did you enjoy the most? Because the first one was SWV week, and then the second one was If You Have My Love.
Between the two, I feel like weak because I feel like that's like a staple song.
Mhm.
So it's like when you hear that, it's like
For me, it was the J Lo one, obviously, because like that's one of my favorite songs. So like you know, it was a play on word, like "Would You
Yeah.
Come For Me."
yeah.
But so you know, we talked about those key moments where you got to sing, you know, some of the lyrics and things like that. But what would you say? And you can even reference the first film and the second film, or you know, either. What would you say is like your most memorable scene or line from either film?
So from the first film, it's definitely the closet scene. That was the most memorable scene for me because I felt like that was a really deep, it was an emotional scene that was just like, I was feeling every moment of it, and I just love how it came out, and I felt like my emotions is definitely on that screen. And for the second film, I believe the best scene was filming the rendezvous scene, you know, where, you know,
Teaser. Can't tell you everything. Gotta watch it. But yes, the rendezvous scene for me was a very fun scene to direct. But also, like you said, I really enjoyed the scene when you were in the closet on the first film too. And a lot of people don't know, like prior to this particular film, I had no experience behind the camera, but that was my first actual scene that I ever shot behind the camera. So that's one of my favorite scenes too. And just seeing how it came out, like you said, and just one of the trickiest things with that scene though was when you started putting down shoes.
Too much stuff.
And just imagine how hard that is when you have to. All right, now we gotta do another take. Now we gotta put everything back exactly how it was, so it doesn't look crazy. But you know, I think in that first film, you did a very good job of conveying the emotion that I felt like Karen was having because, like I said, that first film, Karen was the lead character, and so we got to see a lot more of Karen's emotions. But do you feel like there's something from Karen that we didn't see?
Yes, I feel like the second film gives you more of the backbone that Karen has now. Because the first film, she was more vulnerable. She was more of an emotional state. And, now that, in the second film, after.
And we don't really, in the second film, go into how Karen got to being that person that showed more of her backbone and stood more up for herself. So how do you imagine that Karen got to that point?
Well, if you watched the first film, you saw the type of dude that she was dealing with. You saw her go through his phone. So, of course she had to be like, and especially after meeting her. So you'll stay tuned for it. So she had to kind of develop like, yeah, I'm that chick, in Beyonce voice, Renaissance,
So how was it? Because by you being a original cast member, you got to work with the original Whitney Shatea, and then you also now got to work with the new Whitney, who was played by my sister Elizabeth Harris. So how was that? Like, do you feel like there was any difference or in chemistry or anything with acting between the two? Yeah.
It is so interesting because I feel like both sets had organic chemistry. I honestly feel like Liz and Brandon was like, they were giving me like, yeah, we on this date, but I didn't like Liz was definitely giving me the energy that needed to be given, as well as Shatea and Malachi, like in their scene, like he definitely played his role like, you know what, this is too much, and she was like, so I feel like they both played their role very, very well. The chemistry between both pairs were well. I don't feel like a beat was missed between the two, honestly.
So what happened in the church? Because we get to see what happens in the church in this next film. So what happened in the church?
All right, you just have to watch the film and find out.
Well, you heard it. You got to watch the film to find out. So that was us talking to Karen, Lord have mercy, AKA Raquelle. I was speeding up a little bit. Raquelle Camphor, I want to give you your flowers. Thank you for being a recurring character and believing in my vision. But now we're going to take the time out to have her sit down with her co-star Malik, and we're going to ask them a few more questions about how this process was together. All right, guys, we're back from break, and we now have Karen, our lead character Karen, alongside Malik. So I have a few questions for you all. A few questions for you all. We kind of talked a little bit during the break about who in the movie is most like their character. But who would you say, and we'll start with Raquel, is most like their character in this Malik's Redemption Vicious Cycles Part 2?
I feel like I would say I'm most like my character in this film. Because Karen is going through a phase where she's, getting herself back, standing up for herself, and, proving that she's going through a phoenix phase where she was at a lowest point, and now she's regaining her confidence and standing up for herself and standing on her own.
I had to say, and I got to ask you that question already about, who you felt like was most like their character. So, you all got to play a love interest. So how was that, being the first time that you all had actually met during this film? How was that actually like kind of portraying that you all were intimate? And I'll let you all decide who goes first.
Am I taking the floor?
I can take the floor.
Take the floor.
Yep, I can take the floor. Brandon's very, easygoing and easy to talk to, so it was very simple. It wasn't like, oh, I'm so nervous or anything like that. We was chilling.
Well, I mean, some of those moments where y'all were a little bit more intimate, I feel like they were a little weird for you guys. Especially the one where we saw you all kind of at the end of the film, and I'm not going to give too much, but when you all were kind of like reconciling and you had to embrace a little, how was like embracing each other?
I felt like it was just more for us. It was a serious, but we wasn't in a serious moment, so it's hard to kind of portray that seriousness. I don't feel like it was more of an awkwardness between us. It was just more like, all right, how do we portray this seriousness across the screen more so than like
how do we
a
sell
playful,
this?
yeah.
How do we sell this?
It wasn't weird, like embracing. It wasn't weird at all.
No, it was just the whole. All right, how many times are we gonna do this before? Like, all right, how can it look realer?
Yeah.
You all both seen the finished product. Do you feel like it came across the way that you hoped it did?
I feel like no. I feel like it could have definitely. It still came across real. Like, I mean, how do you feel?
I feel like the way it ended. The message was passed. That
yes.
It ended on
the way you put it together.
Yeah. It ended on the terms that it was supposed to.
To me, I will say that from my perspective, it was very soap opera-ish. Like towards the end, it was very dramatic, and I was just like, where did all this drama come from? Like, cause like the whole time you both were like real lighthearted and like funny and making jokes and things like that. So that scene like just was like, oh crap, like this really is a romance film. Like,
like, no, Malik.
So it wasn't hard for you. You agree with Raquel. It wasn't hard at all. But one of the things, you did say that you are in a relationship. Yeah. And you did play the male role being between two female cast members. So how was that, actually being in a relationship, but also then having to portray this with these two females?
Damn. I feel like I was still able to give the energy that I needed to give. I feel like with me being in a relationship, I can understand the emotion or like get the message that he was trying to give off in that moment, as far as like him being apologetic and him trying to repent for what all he had done and trying to make it right. So I feel like that was something that I could easily tune into from personal experience. I'm not on Malik level of what he did, but I mess up sometimes. I can own it to that, but I make up for it. So I can definitely understand, exactly connect with the feelings that he was going with.
Gotcha. So one of the things we had my Dukes on the stage, she made a connection between Karen being a younger version of my Dukes. That was like a revelation for me. How do you all feel about that? Like, do you feel like there was some similarity there?
As far as how toxic it is, yeah, I can definitely see the similarities. it could have gotten way worse, like how it was with my Dukes, 100%. But you know, with Karen, I feel like what happened.
She was
happens.
able to realize and see and remove herself sooner than later. Before there was a child involved that she had to project these emotions onto. So I feel like Karen was able to step up for herself and, you know, see that she was even surprised that he had even spoken to his mom so that was just different too. She was just like, oh, well, you spoke to your mom, like that's different. That's, you know, y'all don't really have that. Y'all don't really see eye to eye.
Right.
So.
Gotcha. So, you know, we talk about the film being for a larger purpose, you know, to break down generational curses and stuff like that. How important, and I'm asking this to Karen, you know, Raquelle, how important is it that we break these cycles in our own life? And before we even say, you know, breaking the cycle, what do you feel like the theme was, like the purpose of this film was?
Well, I feel like the importance of breaking cycles is so that you can live a healthy life. You know what I mean? You don't want to keep repeating these negative things, projecting and passing negative judgments. And I feel like the entirety, I feel like the message from this particular film was, you know, to love yourself and to put yourself first, you know.
So we talk about, you know, because I know that you had more time with the cast because you're a reoccurring character from the first film, but we talk a lot about the film being impactful to your personal life and your personal experiences, and that's something that we never got to ask Brandon, you know, being a new actor. Do you feel like it helped you personally in any type of way?
To be able to leave certain situations alone, yes. I feel like seeing the hurt, you know, Malik was experiencing and trying to project that trauma and pain on other people, it made me realize maybe I affected some people that way, and I took some of my actions, you know, in consideration and asked a couple people that I may have felt like that this have affected, and we talked about it, and I actually was doing that. So it told me that, you know, I need to be a better person and handle situations in a more healthier way. So most definitely.
I agree. So, and we're going to wrap up on this question. In the new film, there's a scene where you're actually cornered by both of your co-stars. And without giving too much about that scene, how would you have handled that situation differently in real life? Like, how would that situation have gone?
I'd have ran. It's that simple. Like, there's nothing else I'd have done but ran. I don't know how, but I'd have ran. I'd have made a way. When there's a will, there's a way. I'd have ran.
You gotta get out of there.
And how familiar, have you ever been in an experience like that before where you kind of like, you know, was with another female and entertaining a guy? Just kind of keep it vague.
No, I haven't been in that type of situation, but I've been in this situation.
Okay. So would you have ever linked up with the side chick to
catch them?
No, not even to catch them, but to, I'm trying to be vague. Would you have linked up with the side chick to, I guess, because nowadays we see a lot of people, I guess, settling and trying to be in polygamous relationships just to keep their person. So would you, would you have done something like that, like to bring the other woman in, like, oh, well, if he's going to do this, let me just bring her in?
It depends on the situation. You know, it depends on, because I feel like personally, if me and the girl make a connection and I feel like, okay, maybe this is something we can do, then maybe, but initially, no, that's not my intentions. But I feel like if me and her got some good chemistry, let's see where this go. Let's see what can happen. You know?
All right. Well, I thank you both for coming into the studio today. I'm going to give you both your flowers. Thank you all for being a part of this Vicious Cycles Part 2 film. And, you know, thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.